The federal government's policy decisions are aimed at impacting the lives of Nigerians, shaping the economic, social, and political landscape of the country. From the fiscal to monetary policies to regulatory frameworks and public investments, these policy decisions, according to the federal government, are crucial to fostering development and impacting the overall stability of the economy. But what are the experts saying as regards to the long-term impact of some of these policies? Let's get talking. And starting my week on the show is an international business and project development consultant, Dr. Emeka Okengo. It's good to see you, Dr. Emeka. It's been a while.
Pleasure to see you, Tol. It's been ages. Glad to be here again.
Yes. Well, like it is, news in 33.2% is inflation from 31.7 in February. The policy stance of government on the fiscal and the monetary side, we've seen the impact on the masses, hike in electricity, PMS, and all of this. How is all of this impacting inflation figures, and how long are we to stay before we see the light at the end of the tunnel?
Well, thank you very much. Development, like you know, is not a walk through a park. It's a tedious, tortuous, that must be, driven by very measured and deliberate thinking and steps. In this instance, 33% looks high. We could do better than that. But when compared to countries, like China and America, that have their inflation rates at about 79, 80%, or even higher, you must start asking, what's the magic? The magic is that these countries, with high inflation rates and are still able to meet, what you might be able to call the basic principles and indices, of production, of development, is because they are productive. Okay, this is what might make our own situation look a little bit gloomy. However, you've asked, how does it impact on the masses? Again, another talking point, if you ask me. The use of the word masses means that we've not been able to build, that proper database that can be able to make masses citizens. Okay, and until you get that database where you are planning against definite numbers, that might also impact, on your planning process. You also talked about the policies of government. Most of them, I was in a conversation with some people, and I say there is no pain, no gain. The policies that have been introduced are most commendable, from the multi-tariffs that from, the removal of the excise 5% tax, on some special vehicles, and then, locally produced goods and services, to the removal of the petroleum subsidies, which you had mentioned in your intro, even to, if you may, the removal of the electricity tariffs. Are people supposed to, is it supposed to be impacting negatively on the livelihoods of people? The answer might be yes and no. Yes, if you look at the glass as half empty. No, if you look at it as half full, where there's a determination for you to be able to move from policy to program, and then from program, to that action that will be able to reverse whatever trend that we'll have.
It's a good way to start the conversation, but I want to follow up by saying all efforts aimed at providing palliatives for the people, because this is very important, you must agree with me, and of course increase allocation back to state governments. Many will say this is supposed to help the federal government cushion the fallout of all of these policy stands before they start to see all that government has promised to do with funds garnered from subsidy removal and even electricity subsidy and all of that. How impactful would you say has this been across the board?
Well, remember that we haven't had any palliatives since the unfortunate incident in the humanitarian ministry that has led, to the books and operations of that organization being looked into. But even if they were there, I am not a fan. I'm not a promoter of palliatives. Okay, I rather promote teaching how to fish, empowering people. More so when we come from a country that is, envied for our youth bulge. Okay, envied for the level of educated people we have across board. So I would rather we talk about the subsidy savings going into, those areas that government had intoned, food production, which is a major plank of administration's economic development program, growing, food security and growing the agriculture to start contributing 3.4%, to the GDP growth envisioned of 3.5% for the year 2024. When you keep throwing palliatives, you will never be able to throw enough, except the palliative you're throwing will be to start feeding people morning, afternoon, and night. But with a country as richly endowed as we are, I do not think that palliative, is the way to go. I think that it's better, for us to look at those natural resources that were left, unused, unattended to, and I can off the tip of my fingers, mention a lot of them to you. From your solid minerals that is practically everywhere, to your agro-allied resources that is everywhere, to your water bodies that is lying there, about 323 dams and counting. When you have a country that has, that huge amount of resources and then over 86,000 hectares of land, okay, I don't think we should be talking about palliatives, Tolu. We should be talking about how best, we can be able to develop the carrying capacities of our people vis-a-vis giving them, those right skills to begin to contribute to, okay, our national food security, our national skill security, our national infrastructure stock, okay, and generally be able to turn as many Nigerians, from resource to capital. I think that should be the drive. And I see a lot of that in what's happening. Palliatives, if you ask me, is a lazy way. Some people think it's intervention. It's not. I think we better give those palliatives to those who are deserving of palliatives, and that will be our most vulnerable. But in also now trying to talk about the most vulnerable, and for you not to make mistakes, you must be able to do it against proper statistics and data.
Brilliant. I think that's another perspective to it, and I think I partly I want to agree that it shouldn't be all about palliatives, and even if you're going to give palliatives, you should get to the rightful ones. Dr. Okengo, Naira is seriously regaining strength, even more than what international agencies predicted. You will agree with me with what we see now, getting almost less than 1,000 Naira in some cases. Well, my question to you would be, how sustainable do you think this is, considering our export base at the moment? Are we going to improve it? It
shows what happens, when you have somebody who's determined, to be able to do the right things. Okay, at one time, it became culture, it became character, for us to spend dollar, pay school fees, go to shops, buy drinks, do what, But the moment you had somebody who says, okay, fine, you can use your dollar, keep it, but spend Naira when you're transacting. Now, that's one way you're able to do that. The second is somebody who's able to, like the justice system with the woman that has a cloth, not minding whose ox is being godded, look at what should be done and those things are done right. Now, imagine what will happen if this, government position, okay, is supported by production, where Naira begins to now take, goods and services into the international market. We'll be getting getting the Naira almost at par with the dollar, which used to be the case. So I think it would keep gaining. Right now, in my opinion, I think it's all about the policy angle, and the stringent adherence to those policy issues, okay, that's helping the Naira to grow or gain strength. But going forward, for us to be able to give it more impetus, okay, and the muscles it needs to be able to fight, for his position in that committee of nations, okay, or the politics of international economic relations, we must make certain that the Naira takes things into the international market. And I just mentioned a few of them to you. If we committed just 10-20% of arable land in every state of Nigeria into producing what the international market will require, I can assure you we'll be earning, more than what even, the oil, which government is hoping to keep producing at 2 million to meet its targets, will give to us. So in one word, yes, the Naira is gaining because of, government's determination to make it gain, but it's not coming, it's also coming at a cost, if you ask me. But if we use this gain, that we have built to be able to now maybe via a little bit into production and productivity, okay, we'll be able to get the Naira to, get more strength.
Practical stuff. Purchasing power remains low, while the price of PMS, gas, and electricity stays on the high side. How do you think Nigerians will cope? Many are expecting that something should happen with regards to minimum wage. I saw a request from NLC, something above 800,000 Naira minimum wage. But let me ask you, what are your thoughts around expected minimum wage for workers, considering the low purchasing power and high cost of goods and services?
Again, Tolu, I'm not a minimum wage fan. I'm a living wage, proponent. Okay, when you talk about minimum wage, I remember that there are countries like, Zimbabwe that are earning in millions and trillions, and then you're not able to buy bread. So I think it's all about us being able to, go back to those things that can be able to make us self-sufficient. Okay, even if you paid 300,000 and the next day a bag of rice becomes 150,000, how does that minimum wage help you? But even if we put, a lot of efforts into, having alternatives, I do not see why, we should not focus on alternative energy sources. I do not see why that shouldn't happen. Okay, so that people can now have, choices. People can have alternatives. Because basically what we see the problem is everybody is fixated on, the national grid has crashed. Like you mentioned in your intro, everybody is thrown into darkness. Why should everybody be thrown into darkness when we have, 3, 4, 6, 7, of a power? We have sunshine all the year. Okay, even when it's raining. I mean, it rained very heavily in Abuja yesterday, but this morning it was sunny, as you were close to hell. Now, why are we not looking at ethanol, bioethanol, biomass, okay, and all these other, energy sources that has gained the international, credence? I mean, you have places in Europe where people are being begged, okay, to come and take energy. So it's all about us creating those alternative pathways to this, monopolistic, if you may, energy source that we have, presently in the country. So how are we coping? Everybody is coping. Somehow, the universe is leveling all of us. People are beginning to learn, to live, to cut their clothes down, not according to their sizes, but according to the size of the clothes you're wearing or you have. So if we keep at it, yes. And please, do not get me wrong. I mean, I'm as Nigerian as every other person is. I am facing, this challenge like every other person is facing. Okay, and it's not about where you are, it's about where you are and what responsibilities you have at that level. But if all of us as Nigerians can come together in less than 8 months, we are beginning to feel very proud. Nigerians are beginning to feel very proud in their currency. Okay, people are beginning to see that our currency can actually gain, some traction. And we've not even done all that we're supposed to do. So what I'm trying to say, in effect, is that while we want to be pessimistic, I want to be extremely optimistic. Okay, like I said to you, that development is a walk in the park. The moment you have the right policies and then you support it, with the right programs and, of course, the right action and determination of leadership. And like I say, it's all about leadership. Okay, once we have the right leadership that can be able to look at public transportation, I do not see why it shouldn't work. If you remember, more than 30 years ago, Lagos had planned this monorail. If that rail line had come to life in Lagos 30 years ago, a lot of the congestions you had wouldn't have happened. But if what it is we read is anything to go by, just by opening up that rail line that is taking containers out of the Apapa Wharf, that Apapa Expressway is free now. So it is all about people having a development plan and then following that plan according to the demands, okay, of the plan. I think that's what the problem we have is, where people now circumvent, things, take away public funds they should use to do some other things. If we can commit, okay, to proper public expenditure, I'm telling you that in little or no time, we would have every reason, to be very proud Africans and being the leader, the giant of Africa that we have always been.
Seems like interesting times are ahead. Finally, I'd like you to touch on agriculture before you go. Food inflation has been serious. We see the hit on our inflation figures. What do you think there are any quick wins for government?
I think in agriculture we haven't done so well because we've been fixated on the rain-fed, systems of food production, and everybody's well, not everybody, most people who have been able to conquer or achieve food security have done it, okay, by not focusing on rain-fed agriculture for two reasons. Reason number one is that the climate change has made it impossible, for you to depend or predict nature. Nature has become totally and completely unpredictable. But what are we doing wrong that, in my own opinion? I think, if I were Mr. President, one of the ministries I would take personal charge of will be the Ministry of Science and Technology, because that is the key to food security. If we're able to get our Federal Ministry of Science and Technology and Innovation to understand that they are at the heart of everything that can be able to ease us out of where we are now, and then begin to now apply, science, technologies, and innovation to our food security systems, I can assure you that the three most important ministries that can be able to get out of the food umbrella we have will be one, the Ministry of Science and Technology, will be two, the Ministry of Steel Development, will be three, the Ministry of Water Resources, even before we start bringing in the Ministry of Agriculture that should be able to bring the policy and oversight. I think that is where, we've missed it, or we're missing it as a country.
I must thank you so much. International Business and Projects Development Consultant, Dr. Emeka Okenko. Thank you so much for starting the week with us on Business Nigeria.
Pleasure, Tolo. Pleasure, Tolo. It's always a pleasure talking with you.
Thank you so much. Enjoy your week. Have a profitable one.